everyone. I know. Hold on. I need to adjust this. Better. Hello. Yes, things have changed. I now have facial pubes. It's great. It's huge. Don't know why I have this on me. I'm just going to set that aside. Moving on. In other news. So everyone's probably wondering, where the hell have I been? The answer to that question is simple. I have been working for a good while now. Recently got a job at a grocery store. It keeps money in the bank and puts food on the table. It's a decent, honest job. Why I've more or less been gone for several years, however, has more or less been just due to the fact I really had nothing to publish. But then again, it's better to publish something than to publish nothing. And I see that. Everyone can clearly see I have no script. This is more or less just riffing it, see how it goes. So, to bring us up to current events. We've had a few deaths in the family, and that has made things a bit difficult, not just for myself, but for many. So I'm not going to get too in depth to that. Other than that, we have had a fire. Took out our garage. Luckily, we were able to rebuild. Note to self, don't buy Chinese LiPo chargers from Wish and expect it to work. Yeah, fun times. Since then, though, we have built, we being the group. The group is in reference to the airsoft team that sort of, I guess, really helped inspire this channel in the first place. And that would be the Odin's Hellraisers. We've all sort of drifted apart. But now we're all trying to come back together, which is real nice. We're hoping that it all sort of culminates into something bigger. Which reminds me. So during the time that Spade TV was off the air, we had decided to do a few harebrained projects, stuff that basically we could use on the field, but you could build it at home. Airsoft, but backyard scientist in a way. So the first of those many projects was a field gun that used tag-in rounds. But nowadays, tag-in rounds are, well, in a sense, illegal. Can't own them, can't buy them. The reason why is because they're made in Russia. It's a Russian-owned company, and since Ukraine is at war and we're allied with Ukraine, that's going to pretty much put a damper on things until it ends. For all I know, that could be in 2 months, or that can be in 12 years. Who knows? We may never see a tag and grenade ever again. But I digress. The field gun had metamorphosized into many different iterations. Originally, it was supposed to be something akin to that of a anti-tank gun mixed with an anti-aircraft gun. So you'd have the chassis of the anti-tank gun, but you would have the firepower and speed of an anti-aircraft cannon. And this was good on paper, but in practice, not so much. None of us at the time really knew how to execute something like that. And it led to really fucky things happening. We tried figuring out a way to actually make the chassis move. Which, of course, the first idea that we came up with was bike wheels. But then it all came to the same logistical problem that would keep on reoccurring throughout this entire timeline, which is, how the hell are we going to get it from the house to the field and back? So we thought, screw it, make a trailer. We were doing welding at the time, might as well. Nah, COVID hit, knocked that out the sky. So, couldn't weld it. Alright, fair enough. Let's make it to where it's compact. We can fit it in the back of the truck. About that. See, whenever you make things fold, you have to make sure that it's sturdy enough so that whenever you have it unfolded, it doesn't collapse. Yeah. We could get the folding bit right. That's about it. The thing would just constantly fall apart. So we cut that one out and decided, hey, why not ditch the chassis entirely and just make a rocket launcher? It's like, brilliant. Okay. So how are we going to power it? We could use a spring. Too big. We'd probably end up sending a golf ball. We'd basically blow a hole through the guy. Wouldn't be much fun, and, kind of hard to play airsoft whenever you're behind bars. So, we ditched the spring. We said, all right, what about air power? Okay, what kind of air power? Compressed air or constantly blowing? Basically, a glorified leaf blower that you carry on your shoulder. We went with the We went with the compressed air idea. Only problem was then we had to figure out how to make a pressure chamber. Words, they're fun. Pressure chamber that could withstand the PSI that would be needed in order to lob one of these 40 millimeter rounds from point A to point B and make it explode on impact without causing someone to lose a rib. Well, We got it halfway. We managed to get it firing. We managed to get it to lob objects from point A to point B. But we could not get the exploding bit right. Not without screwing with the system that we have already made. That's when we realized, way too late, after we've epoxied everything and everything's all welded together, whole thing's made out of PVC, so all we really needed to do is just get some two-part bonding agent. Well, by the time all that dried and we finally got it firing and we threw a really cool camouflage paint job on it, we realized we screwed up. The thing was too weak. Wouldn't fire. At least not properly. Not only that, but it was too damn ineffective. In order for you to actually get it up to the PSI needed, well, you had to use a bike pump. And the problem with that is, someone has to stand up, exposing themselves, and then, of course, pump it until it's up to a decent amount of pressure. To put that into perspective, a pedal car tire meant for 200-300 pound adults takes 40 psi of pressure per each tire in order for that to remain effective. But of course, that's in a sealed shape. It's a donut, pretty much. Point is, it's all being contained. And over time, due to expansion and retraction of gases, due to the atmospheric differences, whether it's hot outside, cold outside, and humidity, all of these different things acting upon it, it loses air pressure, which is why you need to air up your tires every now and then. Well, with this case, the problem that we were facing was the fact that in order for us to lob this thing, this, I'd say, 1/8 pound object, basically the size of a water bottle here, from here to 100 yards over there, without destroying this in the barrel, and without blowing a hole through that guy's forehead, we need about 150 to 180 psi. Only problem was we could only pump it to 120, which is about 60 to 30, about 60-30 difference, give or take, from what we needed in order for it to work. And of course, since we're using a bike pump, we're getting pretty damn tired. And of course, with testing, we used an air compressor, one of the automatic ones, which made things a whole lot easier, and load time was like that. Just stick the round down the barrel, ram it home, fill up the canister within 2-3 seconds, get it up to proper air pressure, and then put it on your shoulder, flick the valve. And of course, the thing would have a bit of backblast to it, but in the end, it worked. I have the dents in my fence to prove it. But, of course, the problem still remained. The answer to it was we couldn't do it. we did think about replacing the homemade air canister on the back of this thing with a uh, paintball tank, paintball air tank, but then realized that would be too powerful. Not only that, but we would have to then have multiple tanks on us in order for us to even keep this thing firing continuously. So in the end, it was a moot point. We dropped it and we moved on. Few months to about half a year had passed, and we came up with the next harebrained scheme. At this point, The Mandalorian was a very big thing. And one of the things that they showed on of course, on the show was the E-Web. We thought, hey, we can build that. And we did. Months we spent collecting parts, mostly me. It was split up between uh, two portions. Two portions for this one task. We had our buddy, Justin, Captain Diabetes. Captain Diabetes, who is our airsoft tech. We had him come up with the actual firing mechanism, which then left me with the other bit. Make it look pretty. So we did. He did his thing, I did mine. His thing, in my opinion, was quite easy, because all he had to do was extend the trigger. Remove the stock, remove the foregrip, and basically extend the wiring for the trigger linkage about 2-3 feet. And instead of using a trigger, up and down switch. And then, of course, add a exceedingly long outer barrel and inner barrel. Well, that left me with trying to figure out how to set up an AK-47 inside of a big old wooden box that looks remotely like a 50 cal machine gun with a dinner plate halfway down the barrel on a tripod with some pool tubing and a big old crate and a frickin' radar reader on the side. Yeah, fun. Might be asking, why do we have a radar reader on it? Well, that was actually something kind of ingenious that we had decided to do. We placed the radar reader on the side of the gun so that if you were playing at night and you couldn't see the enemy, but you knew that they were using radio, this would detect it like that, and it would basically create a very loud beep, very loud beeping sound with a small yet very bright orange light. If you passed over it, it would make that sound, the thing would light up, and you would know where the enemy is, roughly. So you could start raining hell. And this did work. We tested it. with different sets of radios. It even picked up dollar store walkie-talkies. It was perfect. But then came the issue. Trying to get it from point A to point B. So we had the whole thing come apart. The barrel came down into its own separate section. The gun would then unscrew off of the tripod. The tripod itself would then be laid into the truck, and the crate would then be placed in the truck itself with everything else that we planned on using: rifles, BBs, magazines, plate carriers, helmets, boots, condoms, you name it, it would all be in the back. We'd then haul it over to the field, take all of our personal items, set them down, and then bring out the gun and build it piece by piece. This thing, in total, weighed about 200 pounds, give or take. So about the same weight of an actual 50 cal machine gun. And it shot BBs. It shot BBs. It had no reason, no need to be this heavy. But we wanted realism, so we did it anyway. Well, it finally came time to put it through its trial by fire. We get it set up on the field, and it sucked. It sucked immensely. Why did it suck? The barrel that we had put on it was 4.5 feet long. So we had a barrel the same length as the height of Peter Dinklage, just hanging on the end of this gun. Apparently, that was too much barrel for the BBs to travel through. So by the time that it actually hit the air, all these BBs were just flying everywhere. They weren't even in a straight line. It was this instead of this. So we then ran into another problem. Since the BBs were now flying everywhere, and they no longer had any real track as to what they're supposed to do or where they're supposed to go, they are now dropping significantly. So now you have to angle the gun to where it's basically an anti-aircraft piece, and then arc it so far in front of the person that you're trying to hit that you're aiming the next county over. So then we ditched the tripod and we decided to go full-on TF2 heavy with it and carry the thing by the swivel mount and the back trigger, hoping that our craftsmanship wouldn't fall apart. And thankfully, it didn't. It would have been hilarious if it did, but it didn't, thankfully. That then brought up another issue. The reason why we made it the way we did. See, the bottom of the gun was left completely open. Not only was that done for maintenance, but that was also done so that you could actually load the thing. After all, it was still an AK, so it required AK mags. We were using high cap mags, which means you have to wind the fucking thing. Another reason why the bottom of the gun was left wide open. So when you're carrying the gun like the TF2 Heavy, and you realize, hey, I'm just shooting air right now. Nothing's coming out. You then realize why you had a team of people helping you out in the first place. This gun required literally everyone in our group in order for it to operate. Took 5 people. 5. You had a gunner, a radar operator, magazine monkey. You had a mag monkey. You then had a mag loader. And then you had a gopher. The gopher was pretty much the guy that would help you take apart everything. Then everyone in the group would then pick up all items and then move it to its next position. Yeah, it was terrible. Absolutely atrocious. Which then brought us to our next and current project that has now been going on for the last 3 years, since 2021. The Wunderwaffe DG2. And this one is showing much promise. We've learned from our mistakes with the previous 2 guns. Barrel length and maneuverability. And so far, this gun is still going to be very heavy, extremely heavy, about 28 pounds. It's a frickin' beast. But we're in for the ride. Currently, the barrel assembly is finished. We finally have a body for it that would basically hold all firing components needed to make the gun work. The answer to that age-old question, how it work, G3. This is going to be a franking gun. We're going to be using a G3 body along with the internals of a BAR, and these things will hopefully marry into probably the most beautiful airsoft gun the world has ever seen. An airsoft gun made out of trash. Literal garbage, but in the end, it has been tailored by me to look like something that you would see in a professional prop store. Hopefully, this thing will shoot as good as it looks. Hopefully. But of course, there was one other gun that I did fail to mention. The proton pack. This took mobility to a whole new level. The idea was to have a Ghostbusters replica proton pack. This was back in the year 2021 when I had first made this. It was for a Halloween costume. But when I made it, the first neutrino wand that I had was static. Didn't do anything. That's when my friend Justin presented me with none other than a UK Arms electric Uzi that used big Tamiya batteries. And I thought to myself, I wonder. And I put a block of wood right behind the back of the gun. And it looked right. So I figured out a way to make a new coupling system. That way I can switch between wands if need be. The answer to that whole question was dowel rod, hole, screw. Dowel rod fits on screw, and you're good to go. Big old cord connects to gun. Wear the pack. You're all set. Now, of course, since it's UK Arms, that means it's hopper fed. Fairly simple, that's fine. Uses a Series 1 gearbox, should be okay. That was until we switched it from big Tamiya to small Tamiya, and we put a 9.7 battery in it. Yeah, it fried the gearbox. Absolutely stripped it to pieces. Made it look like frickin' Swiss cheese. Real fun. So, we had to improvise. And when we found out that we had stripped the gearbox, we were only 12 hours from actually ending up on the field. So we had to act fast. And that's when we got a blessing. You see, Jacob, another member of the team, had an old Series 1 gearbox using bullpup. This bullpup he didn't like, so he sacrificed it. Thank you, Jacob. After sacrificing it, I took the gearbox, extended the connection, and figured out a way to basically secure it to the handle that I had already made for the Uzi. After that, it was then trying to figure out how to get a barrel on it. And that's when I noticed the Uzi barrel. It had two wedges that stuck out like this. So you had the barrel, then the wedges stuck out. So I placed tongue depressors to the sides. I cut out holes in the tongue depressors, placed them on either side, and then glued those tongue depressors to the body of this gearbox. I then realized I had it on upside down, but that didn't matter because I didn't want to make this thing magazine fed. I decided to go with something easier, so I went with a hopper. And I freaking plunged through everything that I possibly could. And that's when I stumbled upon a bang can. This isn't bang, but I don't care. Point is, it was a bang can. And I butchered it. I butchered it to pieces. I tore it apart until I had something conical. I then dumped basically a gallon's worth of hot glue on this thing. It was an absolute travesty. It got worse and worse, but I don't care. I was fueled on freaking Hot Pockets and Bang and sleep deprivation, much like I am now. And by the time that it was finished, I had a working weapon. I got 3 hours of sleep. the next day was the moment of truth. It was horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. I ended up getting a team wipe with that homemade monstrosity. I was facing people that had Polar Stars, freaking HPA tapped LMGs, but it didn't matter because I was freaking Peter Venkman and I was cleaning up the town. And when there's something strange in your neighborhood, who the hell are you gonna call? The answer? Me. I freaking wiped. And with that, we pushed forward. And we forced them all back into their spawn. We had to be called off not once, not twice, but 4 times. We were called back, told to give them room. It didn't matter. I was standing on top of what remained of a hill, and I was leveling them with this thing. This abomination, this affront against Evike, but I don't care. It worked. It's a fucking fire hazard, but it worked. It didn't even have a proper trigger. You know what it had? Freaking fishing line that you had to do this in order to pull the trigger, and it was stuck forever on full auto. I wasn't about to just have this thing be semi. Oh no, I made sure that it was forever stuck on full auto because I knew that that was the only way this thing was ever going to be something close to formidable. And it worked. So, where does that leave us now? Well, 3 years on this very day, I started a project with my granddad. He's gone now, but I'm going to finish it. I hope and pray that one day I will be able to show you the beauty of this absolute monstrosity that is the Wunderwaffe DG2. We hope to have it to where it is game accurate. We mostly plan on using tracer BBs. We'll probably try and figure out a way to put lights inside the barrel itself. That way, we don't have to worry about threading. So basically, you'll have your inner barrel, and then there will be an outer barrel that goes the rest of the length. Through the outer barrel, there is going to be a series of lights that should activate whenever you pull the trigger. Basically, it completes the circuit. When that happens, BB gets sent through, big flash of light, should work. Of course, we plan on this thing being full auto because it should. There is no reason for a gun like this to be semi. But yeah, I digress. Anywho, I'm now going to try and get myself some sleep. But best believe it will be one hell of a ride. And hopefully, very soon, I'll be able to tell you more about it. Until then, stay tuned.